Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we have something a small bit more different for you. It is not a weekend preview and it's not a weekend review. We're going to be talking about how our national broadcasters here in Ireland can put a bit more time and effort into growing our own country's league here in the League of Ireland. So let's get straight into it and unpack the whole lot. So I feel like most people would know that the growing in exposure of the League of Ireland through social media and other kind of channels like that has helped in the growing of this country's league. But we talk about the attendances, the Premier Division attendances in the last 10 to 15 years have gone up every year. The average, it has been the same realistically in the First Division. In the last 5 years or so, it has fluctuated due to, I suppose, kind of teams that might come down from the Premier Division. Usually, if there's, like last year it was Dundalk, and of course the last two out of the last 3 years it's been Cork City. So certain attendances for them games would go up and down depending. But for the most part, the last 5 years in the First Division also, the attendances have done very well. But I just kind of look at it here, and during the week, Off the Ball kind of had a bit of a chat from, I think, Colin Buhig, one of their leads there on Off the Ball, was talking about kind of, would you watch all League of Ireland matches if they were on TV? And they kind of made a bit of an example, Colin Buhig as well made a bit of an example about kind of Bohemians fans, that if Bohemians fans only want to watch Bohs, they're not going to watch any other game. And if they only want to watch Bohs and they don't want to watch another game that's on TV, how can the league really grow? And I suppose, look, you can understand it in a certain extent. I think, as the old saying goes, and it was kind of really brought forward by the GAA over the years, that nothing beats being there. But like, I would really like a League of Ireland kind of match of the day spec. We haven't had one now in a while. Kind of Saturday night, 9:30, kind of getting cozy to watch match of the day. Everybody kind of does it, I suppose, really. Anybody with an interest in soccer in England, anybody with an interest in soccer in general, most people watch match of the day. And I think it would be superb to have that kind of a thing back again for the League of Ireland. And I think it would actually be, it's very warranted and very needed, as the crowds, attendances and interest in the league grows. I think you need to push it as much as possible. I think there was quite a bit of a battle between, I suppose, RTE and Virgin Media at the time of who was going to get the sponsorship rights for showing League of Ireland games on live television in Ireland. And I think for Virgin Media to come out, I suppose, and to win that battle, but to not really do much more with it, is very poor. I think one game a week of our country's league on TV isn't good enough. Now I understand, look, conflicting and scheduling and sponsorships and everything. I know TV, trying to get all that aspect into, I suppose, how do you make it work in terms for TV instead of, look, just besides pleasing the audience. And I get all of it, but I just think something like a review show now on a Sunday night even would do so much for the League of Ireland going forward. On RTE, between 2002 and 2007, we had the Eircom League Weekly. We had Monday Night Soccer then from 2008 to 2013, and 14 to 21 we had the Soccer Republic. For 19 years, realistically, we had for 19 consecutive years, we had a show on television, which was a kind of a roundup show of the week's action in the League of Ireland. We haven't seen one now in 5 years. I know, look, probably one of the main reasons why it was cancelled back in 21 was because of COVID and uncertainty of things there, which is very understandable. Look, I think the League of Ireland TV and the YouTube highlights help massively, to be honest with you, but I think League of Ireland TV is still behind a paywall. And I think I just think if you were able to get some sort of a slot in the weekend on a Saturday, Sunday night, it would be so beneficial to further enhance the viewership of the League of Ireland and get fans and even casual viewers possibly watching games that they wouldn't on a weekly basis. I suppose even if their team aren't on display live on a Friday night, I know myself, look, in terms of where I'm, Kerry FC is where it's at for me. And look, do I watch many other games in the League of Ireland Premier Division? Not really. I don't really take too much notice of the Premier Division because Kerry FC aren't there. But I would keep an eye on, obviously, in terms of table and results and things like that, other League of Ireland games. But if I'm being completely honest, like they were talking about on Off the Ball, I wouldn't really watch too many League of Ireland games, even if they're on TV, because it's not something that appeals to me. It's not being appealed to people. Shamrock Rovers are on it, are on Virgin Media most weeks. You'd have the bigger teams, the bigger games, the bigger derbies. I get it totally, but I think it would be unbelievable for the likes of Kerry, Athlone, Cove, Longford, Wexford, UCD, teams like that who have still a very quality fan base, who go to all the games, to be able to sit down on a Sunday evening and be able to watch their team on free-to-air view on TV. And as I said, younger viewers who might not be into the League of Ireland could see, like last Friday night, Kerry beat Bray away in the Carlisle grounds for the first time they've ever picked up a point in the Carlisle grounds. They won 4-0. A casual young viewer could watch, say, a review show on a Sunday evening and say, I'm really, that Kerry FC are a brilliant team, I want to watch more of them. They might go to more games, they might subscribe to League of Ireland TV to watch their games a bit more. All of that stuff really does come into it, and I think it's very disappointing that so far, as I said, in the 5 years from the last review show that has gone to now, we haven't seen anything like it. The way I would do it personally is I would probably have, like I said, your normal match of the day. You'd have your Premier Division highlights. You'd have a bit of punditry work after each one. And then even for the First Division, I kind of wrote it down here, something like something a bit similar to the Football League show that they have usually. I think it's either on after Match of the Day or before Match of the Day, where you could have a 2 or 3 minute clip, not even a minute and a half, 2 minutes of the goals in a First Division game with a bit of a running commentary over it. Not going into too much detail and then going on to the next game, but just having that 2 minutes of a First Division team even on free-to-air television, I think would be really important for those clubs as well as the Premier Division clubs who, as I said, their Premier Division, they deserve it to get the most, I suppose, viewership out of it. Have them going in, have your highlights, have your 2 or 3 minutes of punditry after it, go into the next game, and then even before the final game is shown, do the little package of the First Division games. I think it would mean so much to a lot of the viewers out there, and I think it would bring on a massive amount of casual viewers as well, because the League of Ireland is getting very to a point now where it's very it's getting more exposed, more people are talking about it. You have different social media channels. There's some good content out there, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. There's some good stuff out there surrounding the League of Ireland. And I think if you had it on a good slot on a Sunday evening, somebody could just throw on the TV and say, oh, look, there's a round up there, the League of Ireland, we might throw it on. And that's that small kind of little instinct to throw it on 103 is exactly how people get into it. And look, I think on a worldwide scale, money deals, sponsorships, etc. It's, of course, it's a massive factor. But could you imagine only one game in England being shown on a weekend in, say, the Premier League? There would be uproar. There's always uproar anyway with the kind of the 3 o'clock blackouts in England and in Britain. But I suppose that's kind of, as I said, in a sense, it's totally on a different scale because you have worldwide viewing of the likes of Man United, Liverpool, Manchester City, Arsenal. So it's totally on a different scale, and I understand all of it. But I think exposing people of Ireland to one game a week in the Irish League, that, as I said, there was this big battle to get the rights for it between RTE and Virgin Media. Virgin Media came out on top, and it was a good chance for them then to really push on in a way that RTE never did. And I don't feel like they've done that, if I'm being completely honest. And going back to the off the ball thing, if if you're a Bows fan, you're only going to be inclined to watch Bows, Shamrock Rovers. I get it. I totally get it. But I think if you had a review show on a good slot on a Sunday night where, I don't know, somebody came back and won a game that they shouldn't have, like Sligo beating Shamrock Rovers just for argument's sake, and then the next week you see that Sligo came from 2 goals down to beat Shamrock Rovers and Tala 3-2, and then the next week Sligo are on live TV, because you've watched the review show and because you've watched the punditry around it and how good of a moment that was for Sligo, people would be more inclined then maybe to watch Sligo the next week on TV if they're put on Virgin Media for the live game. It's a bit like, I suppose, with Kerry FC beating Sligo in the Cup last year and even beating Shelburne in the Cup this year. The League of Ireland, grand, social media can only do so much, and as I said with League of Ireland TV and the YouTube highlights, but having those kind of moments exposed nowhere on live television for people to just click on a weekend evening, I think it's a disgrace. And it was the main talking point of Off the Ball. If you're not expected to put enough effort into it, don't expect it to grow. So I think unless our broadcasters and the league, FAI, all that, are prepared to really push on the league, we can't expect it to go too far. And look, the expectations, I think it's I was always kind of one to watch maybe Cork City when I was younger, because it was the closest team to me. I didn't go to many games, I'll admit that, but I think when Kerry FC came into the league and I started to get involved, you really understand the kind of cultural importance of the likes of the League of Ireland to people in and around the league and across Ireland. And I think if you're going to make a big deal out of getting the rights to show the games, and you're going to do all these big massive TV promotions and the whole lot to show one game a week, not have any sort of a highlights show for people to watch, I think it's a bit of a disgrace. So look, hopefully that's something that improves in the future. I do feel personally like a weekly highlights show would just be the start of it, because as I said, the world of social media in 2021 to 2026 has gone so astronomically higher that I do genuinely think that the viewership of a show like that would go up massively, especially if your team, say, as I said, in the first division is being shown on a weekly basis. You're giving the people of Ireland a chance to view it, and that's the most important thing. You're exposing the people of Ireland to it, whereas I think it's being hidden at the moment. And as I said, you can't expect the league to go far if you're prepared to hide it in a tower. So yeah, look, I hope you enjoyed the video. It's probably slightly a bit of a rant, but no, I think it's very important to get those kind of points across of how the League of Ireland can be further enhanced in our on our country rather than diminished. So look, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe and share the channel with anybody who you think will enjoy these sort of videos. And until the next one, I'll talk to you later.